Is going on, everyone? Happy Friday, Juju Gang. I hope everyone is doing well. We are rallying in Tesla as we speak. A couple minutes earlier here, I see everyone on Discord is excited. Let's go. Well, let's talk stock. But before we do, of course, every Friday I ask, throw in the chat where you guys are tuning in from, city, state, country, and let me know if my audio is coming in clear as well. Kind of a different Friday because, of course, yesterday, unless you were sleeping under a rock, Tesla semi delivery event happened in Giga Nevada yesterday. So we'll talk about that. What else do I have laid out? I have next week's China delivery news laid out as well. Some details about the semi-truck. We'll watch a couple of YouTube videos, one from Yahoo Finance and their thoughts on the semi-truck, which I think are hilarious. And then Oppenheimer's Colin Rush on his Tesla forecast as well. So we got a lot to cover here. Where did the pop come from? I'm not entirely sure. If you look at the NASDAQ today, the NASDAQ is up 59 basis points. Tesla is pretty much falling in line. Maybe some sort of options order flow here, but I was too busy getting ready to even watch. Okay, let's read some places out here. How's it going, everyone? T-Mac, how's it going? Okatokes, hey, Canadian, fellow Canadian in the chat. Burton here. Karsten, how's it going? Snowy Seattle. If you guys don't know, Pacific Northwest. And by the way, if you're watching on replay, I should clarify as well. Throw in the comments hashtag replay so I know, and throw in where you're tuning in from as well. Snowy Seattle. If you guys don't know, we've gotten a dump here in the Pacific Northwest with a lot of snow. I mean, with our standards. But man, it's tough. It's tough driving. A lot of black ice here recently. Richard, how's it going from Agoura Hills, California? Spokane, Belina, Paul, how's it going? Hadouken says, so let's address this elephant in the room. Hadouken says, yeah, should you lose a bet? You shaved your beard. No, not really. I don't know. I just kind of wanted to clear off the baggage off my face, you know? It was kind of like the Twitter overhang, except it was the beard overhang for me. I wanted to kind of start, and then, you know, as I was shaving, I was like, hey, I haven't had a mustache in a while. And then I went for the mustache. I did see a couple comments on my videos like, yeah, so fill us in. What happened? Why are you stashing it out? But I don't know. I just, and it was kind of Movember too, towards the end of it. So I was like, I could probably get away with it. I don't know. Pitcher, how's it going, my friend? Paco, Yashu and Juju family. I like that. San Antonio, Belgium, Sweden. Mimi has going Denmark, Sweden as well, Wisconsin, Chicago, USA. I like it, very specific. Paco from South Africa, Croatia, Leduc. Oh, mine is 30. Carson, Toronto, Paris, Slovenia. Digital, how's it going? Thank you, Mimi. Very kind of you to say. You know what's funny is it's terrible timing. I forgot to say this part. It's terrible timing for me to do this though. It's been like -5 degrees here for the last week. Feels like it. And I was like, man, if I could have used a beard throughout any point of this year, it would have been this week. Like, it's just, you guys know, it's like when you get a haircut and like all of a sudden you're freezing outside. Same thing except on the face. Brian says, despite the rate, folks, why are we rallying so hard here? What is happening, folks? 193.94. Holy crap. Welcome to the stream. Get some juju. So I gotta make it. I gotta make this. Actually, let me finish this comment. I got ADHD right now. Despite the rain in SoCal today, my wife was saying this morning she's happy we left Seattle. She hates the cold. I mean, it's very unprecedented how cold the Pacific Northwest is here. Okay, so but despite the juju, this is not brand affiliated. No sponsorship here. Jameson, if you want to sponsor. Actually, Jameson would kind of be a funny sponsor for the channel, wouldn't it? With these like little orange vitamin C drops. This is my juju substitute for the day. Let me know if you guys are, folks, what is happening? Look at the chart. Pardon me. I'm gonna look at the options order flow here in a second. Sweden, Australia, Netherlands. Marco, how's it going, my friend? Tesla's ripping indeed. Great to see on the Tesla live stream last night. Yes, I was on Farzad's live stream for a quick hot second, in between shoveling snow. You call this a rally? Yeah, I mean, it's all of $2, but you know, I guess beggars can't be choosers in this market. It's kind of the way that we have it here. Stefan making us all jealous here from Tampa, Florida. Green at any moment. Green is a rally at this point. Let's see if we can get green. You know what's funny is like, is this vitamin advice? This is indeed health. No, yeah. I don't play a doctor on the internet. Fresno, California. I drink orange lemon juice instead, some vitamin C synthetic, not the full complex. There we go. So $194 sitting on Tesla here. People are on Discord. I see people are throwing in their Juju photos. Actually, can I show it? I think I can show it here. Transition. Boom. Marco with his Juju on our Discord. That's a good bag of Juju. You know what? Those might be like $12 here now at this point. Okay. So let's see if we can end green on the day. I'll pull up options order flow here in a hot second, and we'll see what's going on. As far as I can tell, the options order flow for the market is a big fat nothing burger, as we kind of stand right now, but we'll see. Brent says $200 and he actually saves an eyebrow. Maybe not 200. 400 by the end of the day. Yeah, maybe, sure. I'll take you up on that. Okay, so let's talk some news. And I've got the chat pulled up here. Hopefully that's okay for everyone watching on replay. Actually, let me just find a better spot for this. Okay, so let's talk some news here from last night. So first of all, I want to go through some of the photos. I gotta say, this is one of the nicest. You know, you talk about the Model 3, Model Y for sure, whatever. But I don't know what I have with the Semi. It's an infatuation. It's just such a beautiful car. I don't know if it's because I hate diesel semis typically, but it's just a nice looking car or truck. These guys look so happy taking delivery yesterday. I don't know. Let me know in the chat. What would you rate this Semi 0 to 10? What would you rate it? Because I would say maybe this is Tesla's nicest vehicle, aesthetically looking. I mean, it's the most unique. That's saying something, right? Having the Model 3, but I actually do love the Model Y as well, but I guess it's hard to compare. I don't know. 100, 10, 69, 11. See, so you guys mess with this as well. Like, I don't know what it is, and it's so weird, right? It's a truck. How can we possibly be saying this about a truck? 9.5 needs the mega charger network to be built up. Yeah, so what's also really cool was yesterday was revealed that the Cybertruck will also be using that network as well. But does that not just mean that we're a ways away from the Cybertruck being released? I don't know. 8.69, 7, solid 9.5. It doesn't look dirty and grimy compared to other trucks. Folks, I have a problem. I'm going to admit this on air. I have a real annoyance with loud, sudden vehicle sound. Like, you know, when the motorcycle, the chopper motorcycles pass you, you're on the road or you're at the coffee shop or something, you're at a restaurant, and they're just passing it like the loudest, their exhausts are like super loud and annoying. I have a problem with how annoying I find semi trucks as well. I have the same problem. I don't know if this is like a symptom of something, but I have a problem with how loud sudden noises can be. This is a very true problem. But I'm just really excited to potentially in the next 5 years be living in a city where there's going to be a lot more of these electric semis out there. It's so annoying. I agree. It's just it's like you'll be sitting at a restaurant, you'll be enjoying a meal, and then you'll just like hear this loud ass motorcycle exhaust pass you, or this huge semi truck or garbage truck. You guys know in the beginning. Well, anyone remember the garbage truck references from stream? Too bad we don't have that anymore. Tesla admitted price, weight, and most importantly FSD. So FSD I'm not too worried about, Brandon. Price, there's some rumors out there. The weight will actually go through, because I see some comments about people saying, oh, we don't know how much the load versus the lorry and capacity. We know it's 82,000 pounds, but there's some digging that I've done, and there's an article that I want to bring up to talk about that here soon. But this is just a beautiful looking vehicle. Beautiful looking vehicle. So another piece of news. Tesla gives $3,700 worth of a credit for the Model 3 and Y in the US this month. So essentially what we're seeing, and I talked about this on the video the other day, is that I think we're seeing a lot of consumers maybe defer their deliveries until the end of the year, or beginning of next year, I should say. And so amount appears to be half of the $7,500 credit that's going into effect next month. Some automakers anticipate their electric vehicles to only be eligible for half the tax credit due to battery materials and assembly origin requirements. Tesla appears to be encouraging people to take delivery this month rather than wait for the tax credit in order not to be sitting on an unsold inventory at the end of the quarter. So this is an unusual move, Electric says. Tesla doesn't offer discounts, blah, blah, blah. Remember, it's not just demand. Obviously, it's a factor, but it's also supply. I mean, Austin is definitely getting faster and faster with their vehicle production. So it's a combination of both things together. Duh, Captain Obvious. This is just in. Catching up on comments here. Yes. Okay, but hold on. Let me pull it up here. Actually, we'll go into the China news in a second here from Gary Black. But let me just pull up what I wanted to pull up, and that was my bookmarks. I have a tweet here ready to go, or an article. So a lot of questions about the weight. How much does a Tesla Semi weigh without a load? Unlike automakers, Tesla doesn't reveal specifics, but it's semi. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So we know that the total weigh-in was at 81,000 pounds. However, we don't know what the truck weighs when it's not loaded, so this doesn't tell us how much of the weight it's pulling. So let's see here. At any rate, according to Teslarati, JD Power notes a normal semi should weigh in anywhere from 10,000 to 25,000 pounds when it's not loaded. Add in the 10,000 pound trailer, and you're looking at about 35,000 pounds on the higher end before adding any cargo. So the recent spy shots with the Tesla Semi showed it had 11 Jersey barriers. There's a fair chance that the loaded semi truck is the one that Tesla used for the range test. So with these assumptions, they go through everything. And essentially what their conclusion is, right over here. So if the Tesla Semi Elon Musk tweeted about is the same one in the picture with 11 barriers, that means the load was about 44,000 pounds. So this is their conservative estimate. This suggests that the electric semi's unladen weight is around 27,000 pounds. So send people this article in case they're wondering about it. The load's about estimated on the conservative end, about 44,000 pounds. Of course, impossible to know for sure, and we didn't get any details. This was written pre a semi delivery, but that's essentially what we're looking at here for the guesstimate. Going good. Thank you, Martin. Going good. Yeah, I'm having a caffeine crash a little bit right now. Thanks, Rob. Hope you're doing well as well. Whoa. Sorry. Hey, no one told me the Weeble thing's acting out of control here. Okay. Looks like we're going green on Tesla. $194.70 sitting on the stock. So let's have a segment right now, right off the bat. Wrong answers only. What's causing this huge spike up? I mean, hey, that was another one about the brakes. I see a comment about the brakes. I mean, a semi truck with regen, amazing. Folks, we're green. We're officially green. $194.78. Wrong answers only. Why is Tesla stock up? Boom. It's like I have it ready to go for some reason. I don't know how. Tesla buyback. Will says they hauled those Jersey Bs over the 7,000. Yes, it was a crazy video. Seeing it pass through the diesel truck and it was accelerating up the incline. Green. Bill Gates is covering. I like that. Dollar drop. That might be a right answers only though. Twitter overhang is lifted. Bill Gates sold his short, a red shirt, Freudian slip. Power hour, of course. A lot of Bill Gates. Elon left CEO of Twitter. We'll get into that as well. A lot of Bill Gates. GP3 is causing the rise. GPT-3 is causing the rise. Only Tesla is rising. I don't know if that's true. Let's look at the NASDAQ. No, I would say the NASDAQ started rising around 1147, and that pretty much corresponds perfectly here, correlates perfectly here with Tesla. I would say this is mostly macro driven right now, at least. Wrong answer is only wise Tesla up. You actually stream without the beard. I like that. Did I stream last week without a beard? Did I have a beard on? Did I have my beard on? It's like a wig. I'm just taking it off and putting it on. I sold my shoes. Very specific reference. Warren is buying. Moody's upgrade because Elon banned Kanye. So we'll talk about Twitter here in a second. It's yeah, I definitely have a hot take on it. I don't even know if it's a hot take anymore. Some of these I can't read. Yeah, shoot, beard overhang lifted. Can you imagine this whole year, the whole reason the stock market was down because I had the beard overhang? Some of these guys. You guys are hilarious. $194.97 sitting on Tesla. We're up 11 basis points. I've never seen us so excited for 11 basis points green on a day. So copy link. I'm just going to show this as well if I can. Here is the options order flow for those folks wondering if it's the options market that's bringing us up here. The market is pretty much a nothing burger. The only thing you can say is the negative bearish flow, the negative momentum that we had is dwindling out. And it's mostly through some call buying into close here, but I don't see a dramatic buying of call options or anything that spurs this general move that we're seeing now. Short covering probably is probably the right answer going into the weekend. But, I mean, we'll see. Elon's having another baby. Folks, I don't know if it's just me. Can we just get over $200 already? I'm tired. I'm sick and tired of analyzing Tesla below 200. It's just like, can we just get over 200? It seems like we were just at $300 like last month. Actually, I think we were. This huge drop, this September drop. It's like what? It's just let's get over 200, and then let's really start getting hyped on these up moves. But the Santa rally, the Santa ordered 1,000 semis. Indeed. Ekapov, how's it going? Hello, everyone. Just came over from Dave Lee's stream. Nice, very nice. I've been meaning to reach out to Dave. I've been saying that for a couple weeks now to get him on the live stream. You think he'd come on right now? Yeah, let's get over. Well, yeah, 300 is 300. Don't get me wrong. That would be great. By the way, $300 from sitting here right now would be approximately. I don't want to depress anyone, but $300 from right here as we talk right now would be a 55% move in Tesla. A 55% move in Tesla. We were over $300 as recent as end of September, which feels like yesterday. It doesn't feel like December. Is anyone with me on that? Like, it really just doesn't feel like December right now. A 55% move. That's crazy. Okay. $194.78, pretty much flat sitting on Tesla at the moment. T. Nelly with the question. I like it. Thanks for labeling it. Made it easy. Do you think a stellar performance by Tesla in 2023 will offset harsh recession or macros always outweigh? I mean, generally speaking, right now, I think macro still outweighs. That being said, I do think quarter four earnings is important because in this environment, I think it'll become more and more evident how strong Tesla's earning power is, but it'll take time. Next year, I look at, you guys know my video about the Santa rally. I think to the end of the year, we have probably a decent end finish to the year. Historically speaking, we've been oversold here at these levels. And historically speaking, Santa rallies are a thing. But next year, I worry about over tightening a lot. And I'm not sure about the spillover effects from over tightening. The Fed seems cognizant of that over tightening, but let's assume they don't stop and they continue to over tighten. What falls? What are the dominoes to fall if that's the case? Of course, Tesla will keep trucking on. And I think with the unit volumes they're at a yearly basis, I don't think they'll have a problem selling their cars with price adjusting even a little bit. It's not like they're selling 5 million cars a year right now. So it's not like those marginal effects I don't think take into consideration too much yet. But I do worry about next year's harsh recession if over tightening happens. Housing market is the biggest one, like the elephant in the room, the spillover effects from the housing market. If the housing market starts to tumble and people have line of credits out and they're investing their capital in businesses, stocks, bonds, whatever it might be, and of course rates are already gone up on those lines, I do worry about the housing market and the spillover effects. Yes. Will Tesla continue to outperform and continue to establish earnings? Yes. But it's the question of the multiple then at that point. As we sit right now, the multiple on Tesla, the forward PE on Tesla is about 50. And that's what the Street's estimates of earnings, which is like $3 or $4 considering the multiple right now, right? $4-ish. So I think it's quite low. I think Tesla will beat that. So I guess roundabout way to answer your question, but do I think Tesla will offset the hardest recession? I don't think entirely, but I think it'll stay relatively strong. Yeah. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Rob says, Yash, we were told 100,000 S and X deliveries annually, but we're not seeing numbers really approaching that demand. Production thoughts, your thoughts? I would have to check the S and X deliveries annually to see where we're sitting at. I think production was a problem for the first bit of the year, right? Because I think Fremont has done a good job with it, but I think there were some production line upgrades done, if I'm not mistaken, this year in Fremont. So maybe that's a factor. But of course, the higher end models, I think, as we talk recession, are going to have probably some price adjusting to be done if we hit a bigger recession. But yeah, you know what? But the good thing is the S and X's, I don't consider a huge story into the massive growth that we're going to be talking about with Tesla in the coming up years. It is disappointing though. I know people that have had S and X Plaid deliveries delayed for a long time. I'm talking earlier this year, and they were getting really frustrated with it. Yeah, maybe there's some price adjustment to be done there. Wrong answer is only why is Tesla up. SPF announced as a new Twitter CEO. That guy's just crazy. Richard says, FYI, Rob suggested Shanghai may have been closed end of November to the beginning of December. A couple of days here, 28th to the 2nd of December. I mean, that would make sense, I guess, with some of the protests going on in Shanghai. The good news is it does look like the lockdowns are going to start to ease. At least that's what we're hearing from it. I mean, that's the crazy part, Dan, is if you look at the current PE, trailing 12 is about 60, right? Exactly. It says right here, actually, on my Webull, if you can see my mouse. But if I open up on Webull, the More tab, and I look at forward PE, it's 47, which tells you how little growth analysts have priced in to anything. Wrong answer is only why is Tesla up. AOC in love with Elon. If AOC and Elon get together, I think the internet might break. Seriously. I seriously think so. Thank you, Beach. Appreciate that. How many likes we got? Let me just hit refresh. 63 likes, 400 people watching. Hit the like if you're enjoying the content. Hit subscribe. Join channel membership if you want as well. If you want that little juju beside your name or the Elon, consider becoming a channel member as well. That gets you Discord access and early releases for some videos at times. So thanks for hitting the like. Let me just pull up my Webull here. God, where'd it go? Oh, it's right here. Okay. I don't understand analysts. Well, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing. Okay, well, let's talk about, let me pull up what I wanted to pull up with the videos now, and let's watch some of the Ford. Yahoo loves Ford, folks. Yahoo loves Ford.
This latest sales numbers reporting a fall in total U.S. sales in November. However, a rosier picture in sight for its electric vehicles. Here to break down all the details is
the audio okay on that?
Yahoo Finance's Pras Subramanian. Pras, what do we know?
So, we saw sales drop 7.8% in November. That's not too good. Probably due to some lingering part shortages. But EV sales were up over 100% in November. Ford says they now have an 8.6% market share in the EV market. Looking at some of their models here, the Ford F-150 Lightning EV, 2,000 sold in May. Now they're up to 13,200 for the year. The Mustang Mach-E up 14.5% in November. They've now said they've crossed the 150,000 production mark for that car. So that's pretty big numbers for.
This is a big problem, folks. Big problem for Legacy Auto. They're starting to see success in their EV division, which you would think is awesome. But it's a huge problem because they look at their inventory backlog with gas cars, number one, but they look at their outstanding loans, all like their financing department, right? And they look at how much outstanding collateral they have and the depreciation that those cars are experiencing. I mean, we were in a great market for for used car sales for a long time, but now we're going to start to see a lot of relative weakness with gas cars. And as those cars start to depreciate in their book value, folks, it's going to be bad because what happens, right? What happens when, your consumers owe 60,000 on a car that's only worth 20 now because it's a gas car and it's getting phased out in the next 5 years, 10 years, depending on where you live. Are you really going to want to pay that back? Do you start this is going to be a big problem for Legacy Auto.
For their first new overall EV. And the big dog, the F-Series pickup, they say it's poised to take the sales crown. They've sold around 580,000 of those trucks this year so far, but that's down 13% from a year ago. So they're doing well from the EV point of view, but overall, why still struggling with getting production. I don't think it's a demand issue. I think it's a supply production issue.
Right, they're still not able to do, was it them with the heated seats? Somebody wasn't able to get the heated seats in.
Mercedes, right? It was Mercedes. What are they charging for a yearly subscription for heated seats? Anyone know it? Was it like $1,200 a year or something? That's hilarious.
You had to pay extra for the heated seats.
Yeah, I can't remember who it was. Yeah. I also want to ask you about the Tesla semi-truck, which, in true Tesla fashion was delayed, but finally, Tesla.
Oh yeah, let's hit that narrative.
So delivered it to Pepsi, yesterday or last night?
Yeah. So we saw the production version of this truck, the Tesla Semi. There's some questions there with the truck's kind of sort of specs, but they delivered it. Frito-Lay and Pepsi are using it right now at their Modesto facility. Musk says that it'll have 500 miles of range on a full 82,000 pound freight sort of weight, max weight there. What we don't know is the load capacity of the truck. So how much does that truck weigh versus how much freight is it carrying? That's a big question people want to know. Also, price is.
We just talked about that. Rewind back if you want.
We don't know, but real quick, it's gonna have a tri-motor setup like the Plaid powertrain, so it's pretty interesting stuff there. And also a new megawatt charging capable plug. It'll be able to take that. And the big news, the surprise they mentioned was that the Cybertruck will be able to take that megawatt plug that'll give you 1,000 watts of power, which is huge numbers for charging. They say in the next year you'll start seeing superchargers get that plug.
I'm excited, folks. It's an exciting time to look at the semis. I know, there's a comment here. I've lost it now. It was like, how much really do you think this affects the bottom line? And I don't think it does this year, really. But it's more of the metaphor of Tesla engineering and what's being accomplished here. They're going to scale this thing, and I'm not sure what to prioritize. We talk about emissions versus unit sales, like which semi versus, you only have so many batteries. What do you have to prioritize? What do you have to optimize for? So it's a little bit segregated as well, being the semi in Nevada and all that sort of stuff. But, he said 1,000 watts. I think you mean a million. Did he think 1 mega watt was 1,000 watts? Okay, well, there you go. Perception is reality. Yes, honestly. Okay, let's hear Oppenheimer's Colin Rush here on Tesla stock.
Survey reinforces its view that Elon Musk's involvement in Twitter has contributed to negative sentiment momentum in Tesla shares. Morgan Stanley says
this is the hottest topic with Tesla investors today is Twitter and Elon Musk's time, energy, money spent on Twitter.
And nearly 3/4 of survey respondents believe the Twitter situation has accounted for at least a significant portion of Tesla's recent share price underperformance.
Never trust these surveys. Rule number one, folks. Never trust these surveys these big banks or institutions do. You can cherry pick participants. You can have a medium sample size of 100 people or 50 people. You kind of make up the rules. Unless you're reading the methodology behind these surveys, they really mean nothing. So 3/4 of survey respondents believe the Twitter situation has accounted for at least a significant portion of Tesla's recent share price underperformance. That could be true. That could still be right, but I really don't put a lot of weight into these surveys.
Here to weigh in, Colin Rush, Oppenheimer Managing Director and Senior Research Analyst. And I don't know, if I were to talk to Morgan Stanley about it, I want to know whether these respondents, Colin, were in a position to actually sell shares of Tesla, or opinions are, we know what opinions are like. So they feel that it has something to do with it. That doesn't make it so. That's why. I can give you about
43 respondents apparently. So take that with what you want. 47 institutional investors, Morgan Stanley. Okay, well there you go. So less than 50. So thank you, Judy, for the super chat. Appreciate that. Thank you. And by the way, before we get into what Colin has to say about Tesla, this is why you should respect his opinion. He's ranked 5th out of all Wall Street analysts on Tip Ranks, a full 5-star rating. He's number 22 out of 24,000 quote unquote experts. So what he says, though you may not agree with, is, first of all, has a great track record, but he also represents what the street is thinking, which I think as retail investors, we need to be more in tune with.
a million reasons why NASDAQ stocks have gone down in the past year.
So with the Morgan Stanley survey, one, we haven't seen it, and secondly, we don't typically like to comment on other competitors' research. But what we can say, definitively is that sentiment around the stock has been relatively sour, and certainly there's a lot of concern around the brand damage that this Twitter acquisition is doing for Tesla. There had been the sense that Tesla was on the right side of some of the socially conscious issues that consumers are concerned with, and I think with the Twitter acquisition, that gets much more muddied, and there's certainly a lot of pushback around being involved in Twitter from a variety of folks, and I think that's reflecting on the Tesla brand and the Tesla stock right now.
So people that were totally tuned in to climate change and wanted to do something good for the environment, if something appears on Twitter that they feel is beyond the pale in their world, they won't buy electric. They were that committed to saving the planet that they won't buy a Tesla EV anymore. They won't buy a Tesla EV anymore because
this little cancel culture thing with, I'm avoiding Teslas. It's the biggest virtual signaling ever. I saw this tweet that went viral on Twitter. It was like some lady saying, I had no idea who she was. I'm never buying a Tesla ever again. Blah, blah, blah. Teslas suck, all this sort of stuff. And then people found like screenshots of her basically sucking up to Elon for the longest time. Look, when it was cool to love Elon, people liked Elon. When it was cool to shit on Elon like it is now, I mean, if you go on Twitter, you can't argue with me there. You can get a lot of brownie points with a lot of random Twitter people if you just crap on Elon. Now they've shifted. All they care about is the attention and to be loved by the general population and their fans.
Elon Musk is a meanie and lets bad things come onto Twitter. Come on, Colin.
Listen, that's wildly overly simplistic, and you know that. And so as we look at this, it's really around brand sentiment.
Connect the dots for me. Then.
Oh, spicy.
So do you think Twitter?
Elon Musk
do you think
has
Tesla?
Been someone that people trusted, and I think he's eroding some of that trust right now. And I think that's what's going on.
So you don't buy a Tesla? But you buy it because you trusted Elon Musk to be a good person in your view, and now you don't like the car anymore because something mean is on Twitter.
To conclude that from what I just said. But what we can see is certainly there's additional vehicles on the road for folks that want to buy EVs. Tesla had been the only option, and so the enhances the competitive landscape. And I think there's a concern around too much power being consolidated in single hands with some of these billionaires, and I think that gives a lot of folks some pause around the ecosystem of options for consumers and the broader power base and where things sit. Having gone through a very tough election cycle for many folks.
What does the election cycle have to do with anything about Tesla? This is hilarious. Joe's going right into the Colin.
So anti-billionaire backlash is going to affect whether people buy Teslas. That's another point you just made. Is that how about Amazon?
Yeah,
People not going to have packages delivered anymore because Jeff Bezos is rich.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people looking for multiple options around some of the consolidated, economic activity. Certainly with a variety of, options. For deliveries and whatnot.
What's your rating on Tesla now, and what do you have a price target?
I'm still bullish. And our focus on Tesla has really been around the
Look at his face. I'm going to go back. When he says, I'm still bullish, look at the confusion on his face after he says, I'm still bullish.
You have a price target?
I'm still bullish, and our focus on
Oh, what?
Tesla has really been around the technology, and we continue to see them as,
at
least 3 years.
You were just arguing with me on that point.
Oh, my God.
I didn't argue with you on the technology point at all.
Okay, so what's your price target?
Consumer sentiment.
Oh, my God. He's laughing his ass
My
off.
price target's, north of $400. We feel very good about where they're sitting from the...
Look at his face. Look at Joe's face. How did I not see this clip? I'm so glad I saved this to watch this live with everyone.
From a technology perspective,
even with those
and we see
mean
them
tweets.
continue to cycle in front of additional in front of their competition in terms of the position that they're at from a cost perspective and driving new technology.
Oh my God, that was great. It is actually very comical if you think about it, right? It's let's just go back to his face. I'm gonna find it.
From a technology perspective,
Even with
north of $400, we feel very good about where they're sitting from.
Can I zoom in on this thing? I can zoom in on this thing. Boom. I screenshotted it. I don't know if I can do anything with it. That's a profile picture if I've ever seen one. Agreed. Wow. Well, I mean, it's funny. I'm not sure when this shifted. I've really stopped watching a lot of CNBC. Has the sentiment really been this positive towards Elon since then? I'm not sure. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe I'm just totally off base here, and Joe's always been this pro. But but the funniest part of this exchange, let's just call it out, is that the bull here, really, the outstanding bull, long-term bull, is really Colin. And all he's doing, like I see Michael commented here saying, all he's doing is being the messenger. He's saying that he's seeing institutional investor sentiment around Tesla degrade because of Twitter noise. That's what he's seeing, and he's saying that. So I think it's hilarious. Okay, Gonzalez says, not really. All the other hosts are still very negative. I'll be honest. I try to only watch CNBC clips if I'm going to react to them. And I've told my dad, I don't know why my dad still is subscribed to CNBC Pro. I'm like, Dad, you got to stop. This is costing you money. Not the $4.99 that you pay for it either. Okay. Okay, that was hilarious. That was really good. If anyone has any other clips to watch, let me know. Colin is really, back to Colin, his average return is 52%. He knows a thing or two. When he says something, you should listen, whether or not you agree or not, but because he's hearing or seeing things that that he's privy to that we're not. I think that's hilarious. Oh, God, that was really good. Thank you for the laughs. $194.23, pretty much sitting flat on Tesla at the moment. Joe's always, interesting. Okay. I'm not sure if that's true. I don't want to say it if it's not. Joe's turned a bull a while ago. I thought so. He's the only one there. Tesla news on CNBC next. Okay, I'm going to try to pull up CNBC here. Hold on. You got to give me a second, though. Guys are hilarious. That picture should be a Discord reaction emoji. Well, our Discord emoji expert, Marco, if Marco is listening, I can send you the screenshot of his face later. Oh, God. Okay. So, I mean, I totally agree, though, with the sentiment. People are going to say what they want. I don't think in the long term it's going to affect Tesla's demand at the moment. I think there's a point of no return. I don't think we're there yet. I don't even think we're close. I think the product speaks for itself too much for that to be the case. But boycotting is a real thing. Cancel culture is a real thing. But I don't think you fight cancel culture by appeasing what people want to hear. But the Twitter thing, the Twitter thing is the Twitter thing is actually hilarious. So the hot take I have with Twitter, to be honest, is yesterday, if you don't know, Elon banned Kanye off of Twitter. I'm not going to sit here defending Kanye. No chance. But the fact that Elon is seemingly spending, I should say, from the outsider's perspective, spending his precious time judging individual accounts on Twitter, whether or not they should be banned or this person's good, that person's good. It just seems like an ineffective use of time. And when is this going to stop? It's not going to be like, oh, he needs to do this for the first month, and then after that, it's going to be over. It's going to go on in perpetuity. I mean, you could set a standard and maybe loosely have that standard followed in perpetuity, but it's not like Twitter controversy is going to go away in the next month where Elon's onboarding everything. So it's like, at what point is it like we're literally seeing Elon look at account by account? For example, yesterday a couple of people in the Tesla community got banned and suspended on Twitter and rightfully reinstated. But Elon replied to that person, he says, looking into it. Great. I mean, I'm happy for the people that got reinstated and all that sort of stuff, but I mean, that's not scalable. How is that scalable? I think having a set of standards, or like you said, eventually having the board of people that he trusts to make those decisions is the way to go. Elon spending his time scrolling through people's Twitter accounts or tweets and seeing if something's on board. I just don't see how that's a good use of his time. I don't know. Agree or disagree with me? Brandon screenshotted it as well. This is way more fun than Netflix. Hey, shout out Brandon. I'm gonna retweet that. Okay. Someone said Elon tweeted. Okay. What did Elon say? Oh, CNBC's on. Hold on.
We are now in the closing bell market zone. Vital Knowledge founder Adam Crisafulli is here to break down these crucial moments.
I'll keep an eye on CNBC here if they talk about the semi-ND. Oh, Gene Munster's on. Great timing.
Munster on Tesla.
Thank you for the shout out.
Good to see
for who
all
told
of
me
you.
this.
Adam, interesting market, today climbing a bit of a wall of worry, a negative shock, at least perceived negative shock on a hot wage inflation number this morning. Treasury yields not panicking. And then really for the past couple of months, stocks rallying in the face of inverted yield curves, all these other reasons to expect more chop to the downside. So where does that leave you in terms of believing whether this move can last in stocks?
I think the jobs report today was actually pretty similar to price action to what you saw last month, where you had a very strong headline number. And I think two things are happening today. If you unpack some of the details of today's report, it's a little bit more nuanced than that headline figure suggests. You had another employment decline in the household survey. If you adjust for the work week, that smooths out the wage increase that you saw as well. And then I think if you look at all the recent data we've seen on the labor market, whether it's ADP, the Challenger report, the employment index of the ISM manufacturing, all of that's pointing to a deterioration in the employment landscape. Plus you have myriad layoff and hiring freeze announcements out of companies. So I think that's a big factor where you had the initial shock on the headline, but as people dig a little bit deeper into the figures, I think it kind of keeps us on the trajectory of slowing nominal growth, which means you're seeing a slowdown in real growth and inflation. That's pushing yields to the downside, which is bolstering equity multiples during a seasonally positive time of year. And I think that's why you've seen this kind of persistent bid for the last several weeks. Okay,
I'm going to pause for a second until Gene talks. Let's play Tesla closing price guessing game. Got 16 minutes left here until close. Throw in your guess. Remember, Price is Right rules. You have to be at or under to win the virtual Juju prize. And yes, Elon just tweeted. I'm going to get it right into Elon's tweet right after Gene is done talking. It has to do with Hunter Biden and the suppression by the Twitter team. And that's coming out at 5 p.m. Eastern. But we'll get into that after we hear what Gene has to say. So yeah, throw in the chat Tesla closing price guess.
But the S&P already has a very healthy multiple, and you have downside risk to earnings estimates for next year. So, I think maybe you'll be able to squeeze a little bit further on the S&P, but not a whole lot more in this rally. But I think, I think for the near term, given where we are seasonally in the month of December, and then further downside in yield, I think it can last for a couple more weeks into early next year.
All right. Well, let's get a little deeper into how the jobs report could impact the Fed. Steve Leisman joins us now. So, Steve, is this going to force the Fed to lean harder on the economy, this jobs report this morning?
You know, it could if it's part of an acceleration of the economy. You remember, we're supposed to be stepping down, Mike. We didn't get much step or down today. In fact, we accelerated a bit. The work week point is well taken. It did come down a bit, but ultimately, if putting people back to work boosts supply in the economy, that is, if we get more people working and more supply and less inflation,
That's true.
the Fed won't have to lean harder. But Powell laid out pretty clearly that he sees labor as really an inflation story. So I think he's not going to be pleased with this. So what we see today, Mike, is not a bet on 75 for December, more a bet on bumping up what had been a debate over 25 or 50 in February, leaning towards the 50 side.
Right. And you know, for better or worse, what we also have seen in terms of the bond market reaction is, you know, short yields up, long not up or not up as much. And so you have that upside down situation there. You know, Steve, given the fact that we're presenting this as if the Fed is impatient to see the economy slow more, that's coming as Wall Street sees all of these, you know, what they believe are very clear leading indicators of a recession next year, whether it is the yield curve, whether it is consumer and CEO confidence, you know, the ISM index, all this other stuff piled on one side. On the other, we seem to have jobs.
You know, and sometimes you don't need to know more than that, Mike. I mean, obviously, CEO optimism plays a role in that. If they're going to cut back, then they won't either hire as much or they'll lay folks off. They won't do the capital spending. But when folks have jobs, folks spend, and when they spend, they pay off their credit card bills and they buy new cars and do things like that. And that means that the car manufacturers have to keep making stuff. The importers got to keep importing. You look at the 3.7% unemployment rate, and there are some economists, Mike, who say that's all you need to know. I mean, maybe it turns tomorrow or the next day, but right now the paychecks are coming in to many Americans.
Yeah, you may not know the right level it has to get to, but you probably know that it's 3.7's too low, I guess is the way they might think about it. Steve, thank you very much. We are, meantime, seeing some big moves in tech on the back of earnings. Semi-company Marvel Technology and cloud security firm
What happened to G. Munster? I swear he was right here. Anyways, $194 sitting on Tesla. I'm going to keep it up here. I think he's on standby. I'm not sure why they're making him wait here to talk. But in case you missed it, I'll just summarize. Like, the job reports came out this morning. It was a little bit hotter than expected. Hotter than expected means Jay Powell looks at that as inflationary. If he looks at that as inflationary, well, talk about higher rates higher for longer as well. I think the job numbers is a fugazi, in my opinion. I think the better metric to look at was the PMI a couple of days ago, Chicago PMI, and how low it came and how deflationary it really is. I think the job numbers is probably propped up a little bit here. And also remember, businesses are trying to build up supply. I think one overreaction that we're seeing by a lot of entrepreneurs today is storing of inventory in case of times like shutdowns again. I think if entrepreneurs learned anything is like having some inventory buildup in your business is probably not a bad idea in case of COVID shutdowns. So I think they're okay with holding more inventory than they would have been pre-pandemic. And then also pricing power is still strong for a lot of these businesses. So I guess we'll see. And I did see this comment as well about Twitter. I appreciate a CEO that gets down in trenches. I 100% agree, Lou. I agree with that. I'm just saying, talk about optimizing use of time for Elon. This is because I respect what he does so much and his ability to will things into existence almost, that I just question if that's the best use of his time. But I totally agree. I mean, you kind of want that general sentiment to be there. Where is Gene? They're talking about cloud earnings now at this point. Let's just go back to Tesla. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. When Gene pops up, which I think he's on standby here, we will. I'll pull it up here. $194 sitting on Tesla here. S&P 500 is pretty much flat, down 30 basis points. Dow's flat actually. The Nasdaq's down 64 basis points to end the day. So in case you didn't see it, I'll show it here. Shout out to T-Mech on our Discord for bringing this to my attention, and some people in the comments as well. Elon tweeted just a couple minutes ago, what really happened with the Hunter Biden story suppression by Twitter will be published on Twitter at 5 p.m. Eastern, so 2 p.m. Pacific. This will be awesome. Popcorn emoji. Thoughts on this, folks? Give me your thoughts on this in the comments. Talk about stirring. Let's talk about stirring the pot. I have no idea. I'm just at a loss for words. I have no idea really what to. That's not good or bad. I really don't know what to say about this. You guys let me know in the comments, and I'll pull some comments up. Let's see what people have to say. What are the top comments down here? Twitter needs to work on like a Reddit style of like sorting out top tweets from there. Distraction, short-term pain is my guess. Just toxic politics. Matt says truth will set us free. It's so funny how diverse opinions are. And this is what I love about I guess from a content creator's perspective, is how many different ways you can go with it, any narrative today. He doesn't need to stir it like this. Great way to get new subs. That's true. Hey, what if Elon said, I'm releasing this story, but it's behind a paywall for $5? That'd be pretty interesting recruiting metric. But then at that point, it's just kind of like, that'd be kind of toxic too. I think truth is important. I'm not vested in any narrative. I'm essentially, I don't want to say I'm this way, but that's kind of the mentality I try to have as well. Who cares? I don't like this at all. Look, I really don't think this has much to do with Tesla, this particular thing, because I mean, yes, it's easy to tie it back to Tesla, but I think the damage of institutional noise on Tesla has kind of already been done. The institutions that wanted to avoid Elon and Twitter, Elon, Twitter, and all the noise, I think that's why we've seen general weakness in the last couple of months here. I'm not sure how many of those people that are left invested in Tesla as institutions are going to be surprised by something like this. Twitter, Elon tweets from the White House pond. Okay, so let's pull up. Someone's saying, Raptor saying, pull up Tesla. It's going up. Okay, it's Tesla. Trying to finish green on the day. I threw my guess in the chat as well. But for what it's worth, Tesla stock is not really reacting up or down to that. Is that why? Wait, Tesla stock. Yes, your ticker equals confusing. Why? Is my ticker wrong? Did I have the wrong ticker up? Oh, sorry. I got Twitter up now, or Tesla up now. Wow, I just said Twitter instead of Tesla. Freudian slip. Yeah, pardon me. I had the NASDAQ up. That is confusing. I agree. Okay, back on Twitter. Wow, he just said it'll include a live Q&A. Okay, we're back. Let's see here. This is awesome. We'll include a live Q&A. Well, this is going to be a test for. This is probably going to be the highest record. Oh, hold on. CNBC's back. I'm excited.
Kind of aggressively projecting what supply is going to be and sort of over-promising. What do you actually think is going to come out of this effort? How many of these can they produce and sell soon?
Well, the kind of jumping to the long term is that he's expecting 50,000 in 2024. I'll take the under. I'll take the significant under to that. I think best case is 20,000. And what that would account to is it would add about 3% of revenue to Tesla's 2024 revenue. That also, I think, does understate what is an opportunity for Tesla. Is that ultimately I think that this vehicle should account for about 5% of sales. So it'll start out slow. It will never be as big, obviously, as Model Y, but I think you are smart, Mike, and just being realistic in terms of some of their commentary about the production. But I think that does, I think, bury what is probably most significant here. And I think what is more significant than the fact it will take a few years for this to ramp is the message that this is sent to the rest of the trucking and manufacturing industry.
That's what I've been saying.
This is as big of an event as Model 3 was, how that really changed how automakers thought. And I do want to emphasize an important distinction between what happened with the Model 3 and the rest of the auto industry taking notice. That time it was, we have to have electric cars to compete with Tesla. In this case, the trucking industry has already prepared for these for electrification, but there's one significant problem that they have is that they tend to be in the 250-mile range. And for these long-haul trucks, the average driver drives 500 to 700 miles a day. A 250-mile-an-hour range isn't going to get it done, and I think that is what is the true feature here with the Tesla Semi.
Yeah, crazy.
Got it. Now, just in terms of the longer-term opportunity for something like Tesla, though, let's say they do 20,000. Isn't that close to 10% of annual sales of these types of trucks, this class of trucks? So I guess how big is the ultimate potential market, and how much can it matter for Tesla's overall business if, in fact, we presume that their passenger car business is going to continue to grow pretty well along the ways also?
So the quick numbers is in the U.S. Typically sell around 7.5 million passenger vehicles, about 225,000 of these Class A trucks, these bigger trucks. They tend to be priced about 4 times what the cost of a typical car is. So it still is a small market relative to the passenger vehicle market. But as far as what it can mean for Tesla, it is additive. That 3% number that I said adds in 2024. That assumes that Tesla is growing their revenue at 35% for the next few years. And so
that's true.
As you get bigger, it's harder to have products that actually have a measurable impact. And the Semi is going to have a measurable impact. And I think we're going to see the exact same thing happen in the truck manufacturing world as we saw in the auto world. And I would just leave it at this, is that these companies that have been around for a long time, Freightliner, Mack, Volvo, they're going to have some hard decisions to make about how they're going to compete in the next decade.
Yep.
All right, and just quickly on Tesla as a whole, I mean, stock is trading at half its peak value. Obviously, it's been under a lot of pressure from multiple directions. Where does that leave it right now? I mean, even with things like China demand, people scrutinizing pretty closely.
Still optimistic, and the biggest reason is that just think about the TAM. This is like thinking in 2005 that Amazon had kind of played its card out, given that they had a high market share, and where could they take it? More competition was coming. At the $2.5 trillion auto market right now, Tesla has about 3% share. They can continue to grow into that. And so I still think that this is a unique opportunity. I think just because electric car companies are coming out with electric cars doesn't mean that they're going to be as attractive as Tesla's, given the whole software integration piece to it. And so I'm still optimistic, and I think that the market's going to want to see what the numbers are for December. I'm optimistic that they're going to be favorable, and ultimately, I think that they're going to layer on not just a Semi, but probably a cheaper Model 2 announced next year, and I think that's going to continue to move the stock higher.
All right, Gene, I appreciate the update. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, talk to you soon. About 2.5 minutes to go in the trading day. Adam, I just briefly mentioned China there. That's an area that you're actually kind of upbeat on, right? I mean, the Chinese market has a chance to revive here.
Yeah, I mean, you've had.
All right, well, we'll move on from this. So it's always good to hear from Gene. I mean, like he says, it is additive, right? So if he says 3 or 5% of revenues in 2024, Tesla's not going to be doing what it's doing today in revenue. It's going to be doing 2 years worth of more growth on top of that. So, and an interesting part, right, of course, to think about this entire thing is the hurdle for a Semi to be electric and really work for a trucker. You need, let's say, that 400 plus mile range. Well, that essentially puts the bar really high. So if any other electric Semi company wants to scale up, they have to scale up a car that can do 400 or 500 miles on a single charge loaded. So it just, yeah. And I saw a comment here from Mimi. Let me see if I can pull it back up, scroll up here. The comment was essentially the Semi is more important right here. I think the Semi is more important for the mission than Tesla finances. I agree. The wall is shaking. There we go. Okay. Look, I agree. I think, I think the Semi is very important. I just, using that theory, then should we not just only make Semis? Right? So of course there's a fine balance to these things. $194.86 closing on the week, folks. A week that has officially closed green. Yes, a green week for Tesla. 2 green weeks in a row, in fact. Opening the week at $179, closing the week at $194, sitting as high as $199.24 on the week, pretty much on Tesla. So we really didn't crack that $200 barrier yet. Methinks next week might be we might be in better luck for it. Although I see a lot of comments here saying people saying watch out for the weekend and all this Elon news coming up here. Hold on here. Let me just, there's another comment here. Okay. So, and we talk about Twitter and we talk about what's happening here. Any other tweets here? Again, Elon says at 2 p.m. Pacific time, there will be a live Q&A and a releasing of the Hunter Biden story suppression by Twitter. So my prediction here is probably just there was a secret team on Twitter, a department that would vet everything, and they were in touch with the federal government, and the government told them take this down before the election, and they acquiesced and took it down, and this influenced the election, blah, blah, blah. I think that's generally probably what we're going to hear, and I think we've already kind of heard that already. So I'm not sure. Is this going to ruffle more feathers? I don't know. I think the story is kind of past. I want to say, like, people have already kind of known that this story was essentially suppressed. So I'm not sure what he could say. But, you know, maybe he ties it back into Twitter and he says, and this is why starting today, we've established a new board that is going to be transparent with everything and all disclosures. And if we're suppressing stuff and all everything like that, maybe that's how he ties it in into it. I got a couple extra starred here. Let's see here. Jay Warren says, do you have any thoughts on the tag team Tesla semi presentation where Elon was not the expert? Do you think Elon was cool by the way the presentation went? I don't know about you guys. I thought the presentation was great. I thought it was amazing to see Dan get some recognition for his work here. Hold on. We got Jeremy on CBC.
1,000 loss of payroll individuals. I mean, what is the input in the economy is not just the number of people, but how many hours they work. So I didn't regard this as, I mean, it wasn't a terrible report, but I didn't regard this as anything on the labor front as being a strong report. Now let's go to the wages.
Let's go to stocks.
No,
let's go to stocks for a minute.
Let's
go to stocks for a minute, Professor, because we had a pretty nice comeback today, right? We're down 350 at one point after that report came out, and we've come back, right? The Dow closes positive on the day. You've got the S&P 500 above the 200-day moving average. So you think this clears the way for?
Well, I think what happened during the day was people were beginning to say this isn't that hot. And by the way, you know, look at, we had 5% year over year wage growth. We have 8% inflation. Workers are trying to catch up, and they're not. They're still falling well behind. I mean, you know, it just disturbs me to think that the Fed's policy is to crush wages so they go back down to 2%, are basically saying to the worker, you're not going to catch up to inflation, and we're going to prevent you from catching up to the inflation. That's an insane policy. And by the way, I mean, I've talked to, Bullard about wage inflation. He said, I don't look at that wage inflation when I try to choose or determine what price inflation is. And he's an uber hawk. So, I mean, this idea that, the worker trying to catch up because he's lost so much purchasing power is something that the Fed has to crush, to me, is extraordinarily bad Fed policy. And I don't think it's inflationary, because it's inflationary when wages jump ahead of prices, not when they lag behind prices. And I think what's happened is the market I think what happened today was beginning to say is, well, when we look at the price, look what happened to ISM prices yesterday. I mean, that was outside of the few months following the pandemic. That was the first decline in 15 years. And all the other price indexes that we've been talking, all of them are, basically going down. So people are saying, despite the wage catch-up, the price action is going to be amenable to the Fed greatly slowing down. I mean, my feeling is it's 50, and my feeling is that is going to come in, that they won't even have any next February. But we'll have to see what happens. They're not indicating that now. But if that does happen, wow, that's good for stocks, good for bonds and stocks.
Yeah, you said a few weeks ago that inflation was basically over. That's what you told me.
Yeah, and I still believe it, because I don't think this wage increase is catch up, and I don't think that this wage increase by itself is inflationary. Everything else that I see on the price front everything else. And I mentioned the ISM case show house index down again, big. House prices turning, rental indexes are turning negative. I mean, it's not only a slowdown in inflation, it's actually negative inflation on many of these important categories is still coming through. And, we've talked about the fact that, the BLS index and the Fed index lags on the housing. It's going to continue to show those housing increases, which, is going to, if the Fed wants an excuse to keep on raising rates, they're going to point to what I consider a faulty index and not an on-the-ground index of what's happening. And more people are, writing me and saying, yeah, I think that's actually the case. There's more not cognizant. So I am not changing my view that, inflation is basically over. This is catch-up wages, and the Fed should not be setting policy to go against
There
that.
we go. Let me play a horn.
You're not changing your tune, nor does it seem the Fed chair really is either. I'm curious as to what you thought about the market reaction to the Brookings speech the other day. Did the market get it wrong? I mean, what did he say? Why?
Well, I mean, all right, I call it a quasi-pivot on Wednesday. I mean, the fact is he basically cemented in 50. And don't forget, we were wavering. Bullard was calling for 75, and a number of others were calling for 75. But by cementing in 50, that was, as I say, a quasi-pivot. Now, I thought the rest of his speech was really, off track. One thing he said, despite the tighter policy and slower growth over the past year, we have not seen clear progress on slowing inflation. Very honestly, Scott, I don't know what planet he lives on. I mean, there's tremendous evidence of slowing inflation.
Yeah.
So the rest of that speech contained a lot of information that, I think was discordant with what the data is actually showing.
This guy's on fire.
But nonetheless, the market was very encouraged. They said, all right, he's finally beginning to get it. And as time goes on and more data comes in, it appears he's more amenable to either slowing or stopping. I mean, my feeling is you don't need more than this 50 basis points.
Yeah.
This 50 basis points might be too
It
much
is.
in and of itself, but let's be thankful for little things.
You continue to surprise me in some respects how critical you remain of the Fed. I don't know what
Yes, congrats,
planet he's
Gurdeep,
living
for
on.
winning Tesla closing price guessing. I have to wait for this to be over.
When someone says we have not seen clear progress on slowing inflation, I just don't know where that statement comes from. I'm quoting him. I printed out what he said.
I bet you did. I bet you did.
And I mean, it's everywhere in the data. Yeah, wages are in catch-up mode. That part we know, but every other price you look at, except the super lagged housing index that the BLS does, which was way understated inflation in 2020. We had 10-12% inflation in 2021. As I mentioned, and now we're slowing down real dramatically with super tight policy. And yes, I'm very critical of the Fed. I mean, to be blunt, here the Fed that caused the inflation by expanding liquidity greater than any other time in history, is basically talking as if to the worker, we're not going to let you catch up to the inflation that I caused. I mean, that's a slap in the face of the American worker, in my opinion.
Someone get the air horn.
I just don't think that justified. You caused the inflation. Now you're saying, I don't want wages to go up so that you can catch up to inflation. Is that good public policy, Scott?
You're making a big statement, Professor. I can tell the emotion that you have behind it. I'm not going to judge their policy.
Even she's impressed back there. Look at her.
And I'm happy that I get to ask you about it, which I want to ask you about yields as well. What do you make of that? The 10 years at 3.49? We're talking about the rate back in the summer.
Sorry.
Yeah.
What's that about? Why are rates going down?
Well, I mean, they jumped because they said, oh my goodness, this means that he can justify staying up. And then they looked at the data saying, this wasn't a strong labor market report. And you know what? Everything else is going to, that shock wore off. I think it's going to keep on going down because I think we're having slower growth. We're going to have slower growth. This was not a hot report. And we're going to have slowing inflation. Those are two good things for bonds. And they're also very good for stocks. I'm not surprised at all. Listen, I'm really sticking my neck out here, but I wouldn't be surprised by the end of next year we have a 2 handle on the Fed funds rate. Now, it's way out of consensus. I know that.
Wow.
And I'm certainly not going to bet my life on something like that. But I'm just saying, when we get this data in, we're going to get that down very quickly. I mean, the talk is not going to be, is it going to be a 25 now or what else? It's going to be, when are we going to decrease the rate? That may come as early as the spring. Now, again, that's way out of consensus. But I'm not going to be surprised if that. I'm not going to be surprised if that happens.
Okay.
Wow.
I want to tee up what I think is going to be a debate, Professor, because I got somebody as part of our panel today. Let's bring in our contributors, by the way.
That's crazy.
CNBC contributor Stephanie
He
Lincoln,
thinks there's going to be a
Greg
2 handle on the Fed fund rate
And
next
Greg,
year.
let's just get right into it, because you suggest that we're closer to the beginning of the hiking cycle than the end.
Oh,
how is that possible?
Oh my God.
No, Scott. So let me differentiate 2 things, and happy to be with you fresh in from that other planet that I live on with Powell, with Chairman Powell. So what I think the argument
2 point something
a lot
on the interest rates, not what we're at right now.
Cycle, and which I would admit that, but I would likely say barely, because I'm now starting to think that the terminal rate for next year is around 6%, which implies that we have another 250, 275 basis points to go. But what that argument misses, and what I think even the bulls will admit, is that we are closer to the beginning of the impact of the Fed moves. We all like to say that there's a lag effect. And inflation is sitting at 7.7% on CPI and CPI and 5% on PCE4. And these are not levels that are anywhere near the neighborhood of the Fed's target. And so if we admit that there's a lag effect, we admit that there's a several hundred basis points to go, we haven't yet seen all of the impact that the Fed desires. So we naturally must be closer to the beginning of what the impact is going to be.
Okay. You though, and the professor, I couldn't be further apart.
Do you guys agree with that? Throw in the comments, yes or no?
Your view of all
Do you agree
of this,
7%
really.
interest rates are coming up?
Professor, where you just heard Greg suggest that the Fed funds rate is going to be versus where you just shockingly said you think it's going to be. What's your view?
Yeah, I mean, it's like 2 points up versus 2. Well, there's a couple things. First of all, I think it's wrong to use year over year. That's really backward looking. Scott, I put the actual rental housing prices in, the actual case-shiller prices into the CPI index. And guess what? Core inflation, which is what Powell has looked at over the last 2 months, has been negative. So, the year over year is 8 because we had so much inflation, but it is coming down so rapidly. You got to be forward looking. You can't be backward looking when you implement policy.
Well, Greg's forward looking. He sees earnings deteriorating at a much more rapid pace than you do, Professor. And, a lot of people, by the way, are in his camp. And Stephanie Lincoln,
I know that.
Whose camp you're
probably right. Well, I mean, earnings could deteriorate. But you know what? What's more important for stocks, believe it or not, is that discount rate than the earnings. I mean, we had a tips rate, 10-year tips of minus 1.5% going into this year, and then it went up above plus 1.5%. You can explain the entire decline in the stock market just by that rise in that discount rate. Now, earnings are important, to say the least. And, if the Fed does stay that tight, we're going to go into a recession. Yeah, earnings are not going to be 230. They're going to be 200 or 190 for a couple years, year and a half. The truth of the matter is, if you do the math, a couple years of even 20% decline in earnings, and I don't think that's going to happen. And then if it jumps up, as you do when you get out of a recession, if you do the math, that means that stock prices should go down 4 and 5%. Should. Now, psychology will bring them down more. And then they're going to be that great buying opportunity that we all know happens at the bottom of every bear market. But that would be that is the overreaction that you get. But nonetheless, I don't think that scenario is coming true, because I think people are going to say, yeah, you know what? Things are slowing down. The Fed can't be backward looking on what's going on in prices. I mean, that ISM dropping below 50, I think was, basically saying that firms are saying, I see prices declining.
This guy's going off.
Of what I am buying as inputs into my production prices, except for the few months around COVID, after the COVID hit. We have not seen that for 15 years.
Professor, I want Stephanie Link to get in. I'm trying. You're like a freight train. Once you get started, man, get off the tracks.
Well, they said add some energy here. I'm adding energy here, Scott.
Like you needed a prompt. I mean, come on, Professor. I can always count on that from you. Stephanie Link, what side of this argument are you on?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm somewhere in the middle. The non-farm payroll numbers I thought were quite strong, but they're a lagging indicator. I much prefer using the 4-week moving average for initial claims. And yeah, they're creeping higher, but they're still quite low. You guys have been talking about average hourly earnings. It was hot, and that's not welcoming to the Fed, right? That's the one thing that we came away with on Wednesday from Powell's presentation, is that he's working and focusing on wages. And if you look at November strength and September and October higher revisions, you're at a 6% annualized rate for that 3-month period, right? Even last month, it was at 3.8% annualized. So it's accelerating. That's number one, on top of a core PCE number yesterday at 5%. So anyway you look at it, wages are not friendly for the Fed, and the Fed is not going to all of a sudden pivot or pause anytime soon, in my opinion. So I think rates remain higher for longer. The problem is this is right in the face of what Professor Siegel is talking about. The economy is softening, right? Housing, jolts, Challenger Gray layoffs, ISM.
All of those indications to me mean one thing. First of all, let's give it up for the professor. Watch your speakers. Hopefully this isn't too loud. I'm going to lower my volume here. The professor went off on CNBC yet again for another Friday edition. That guy should be a regular. I see a lot of comments saying he should be the Fed president. Look, I think the bull-bear debate is good. The guy thinks 7% Fed rates are coming up, which would mean like 9% plus mortgage rates. Crazy. But before I forget, Gurdeep, if Gurdeep's still around, congrats for winning the virtual Juju prize for the second Friday. I saw that in the last couple of months. Man, what a weekend. Let's just leave it at that. It's a crazy, crazy market right now. No one knows where this is going. Of course, we love the professor's talk because we're bulls. We're probably perma bulls, a lot of us, but it is what it is. $194.86 closing on Tesla for the week. I have everyone pretty much set to go for next week on terms of news, I believe. Remember, China numbers come out Wednesday, Thursday. So we'll keep that in mind. Have an awesome, lovely weekend, everyone. Hit subscribe, become a channel member if you want on your way out. Share this stream. Leave me a comment. Much love. I'll catch you guys on Discord later. And remember, like I say every Friday, put away your technology, phones, stress, whatever you need. Go get some physical exercise, mental exercise, meditation, spend time with friends, family, do whatever you need to do to have fun. We got the Hunter Biden overhang coming up this weekend, it seems like. Every weekend. I don't know where this is going to go. I'll be back, Mark. Don't worry. I'm going to clip. Should I clip that part out? The professor talking on CNBC and clip it out and put it out as a video tomorrow? I think I should start doing stuff like that. I might just clip that out and see. All right. Elon's event coming up in 40 minutes. Go on Twitter if you want to witness the show. Is probably the best way to put it. All right, guys. Much love, everyone. Yesh signing off. Take care. Peace.